You ever notice the nicer a neighborhood gets, the more suspicious everyone becomes? It's like once the grass gets greener, the people get meaner, quietly, politely, in a very suburban, decaffeinated kind of way. You walk into one of those fancy neighborhoods, everything looks perfect from the outside, but inside, every house is someone staring out a window, making sure the world continues to follow the sacred commandments of cul-de-sac civilization. And you haven't even stepped out of the car yet. But the neighbors already know what model you're driving, what you paid for it, and whether its color clashes with the street's overall visual harmony, like you're living in a neighborhood designed by a choir instructor. It's incredible. You try to enjoy a peaceful walk, but the whole place feels like a museum where you're not allowed to touch anything, or breathe too hard, or park in the same spot 2 days in a row. God forbid you actually leave your house with a sense of freedom. No, not in the nice neighborhoods. They've perfected the art of making you feel guilty for existing. That's the real luxury. You look around and everything is trimmed, polished, scrubbed, and sterilized. Every bush looks like it's got a stylist. Every driveway looks like it was buffed by monks. The houses are so clean, they look like they've never been lived in, like the families inside get tucked into storage each night so nothing creases. You ever see a neighborhood so perfect that even the squirrels look judgmental, like they're on payroll, little furry inspectors checking your yard for violations? Hey buddy, those leaves weren't here yesterday. Even nature has a clipboard. You move into a place like that thinking you've upgraded your life. Finally, a peaceful, quiet, respectable neighborhood. And within the first week, you get a letter taped to your door because your garden hose was visible from the street. This disrupts community aesthetics. A garden hose, a tool invented for watering things. Apparently water is fine, but the thing that delivers it is an abomination. You can't even leave a hose lying peacefully in its natural habitat, coiled and happy, because some committee has decided it offends the delicate visual senses of the neighborhood. And I love how it's always a committee. Not even a person with the courage to complain directly. It's a group, a unit, a secret society dedicated to making sure no mailbox exceeds 42 inches. And what is it with mailboxes in these places? Every single one is the same color, same shape, same height, lined up like they're waiting for military inspection. If one leans slightly left, the whole street has a crisis. Suddenly everyone's whispering about the tilted mailbox like it's a scandal. Oh, did you hear about number 42? The mailbox leans. Leaning. It's chaos. Society is collapsing. Yes, Brenda, I'm sure civilization will crumble under the weight of a mailbox with poor posture. The thing is, the nicer the neighborhood looks, the louder the rules get. When I was a kid, a neighborhood was a place where your bike lived in the driveway, your sneakers were on the lawn, and half the kids played with sticks. A stick! Remember when a stick was a toy? You can't have sticks in these neighborhoods now. No loose sticks, twigs, or leaves. Leaves, fallen leaves are somehow your fault, as if you're plotting against the neighborhood by allowing autumn to happen. You get a warning letter, your tree shed leaves onto the community pathway. Well, yes, it's a tree. That's its whole thing. What do you want it to do? Hold them forever? Start doing crafts? And then there's the grass. Oh, the grass. The single most controversial organism in the suburbs. Grass has more regulations than most governments. The lawn must be green, uniform, freshly cut, evenly watered, emotionally stable, spiritually aligned, and trimmed to an exact measurement that must never exceed a socially agreed standard of suburban perfection. If your grass dares to be a slightly different shade of green, you become a neighborhood myth. Parents warn their kids about you. Don't walk too close to that house, Timmy. Their lawn is chartreuse. You become a cautionary tale. You try to mow your lawn on a Saturday morning, and suddenly 5 neighbors appear out of nowhere, arms folded, watching like you're performing a delicate surgery. Oh, he's cutting it too short. Oh no, look at that angle. He missed a spot. Disaster. And then someone from the committee sends you a note recommending a community-approved mowing technique. Imagine living in a world where you're not trusted to cut grass. Grass! The same thing cows eat without thinking. But here, it requires certifications, training modules, and parent-teacher conferences. And that's another thing. These fancy neighborhoods always have that one neighbor who treats the street like a sacred masterpiece. You know the type. They water their lawn 3 times a day, stare at it lovingly, whisper encouragement to it, Grow, baby, grow. Their grass is so green it looks fake. And maybe it is. You ever walk past someone's yard and think, no natural plant is that enthusiastic. But they love it. And they need you to love it. And if your lawn even considers being a different color, they panic. They call emergency meetings. They form subcommittees. There's a whole political system around grass. And don't even think about putting something creative in your yard. A lawn ornament, a little decorative gnome, a wind chime, no chance. You put one gnome outside your house and the neighborhood erupts. Suddenly everyone's acting like you committed a felony. He put a gnome, a whimsical creature. This is a respectable community. They treat gnomes like they're threats to national stability. Meanwhile, the gnome's just standing there smiling, minding its ceramic business. But no, the committee has to intervene before the entire neighborhood crumbles under the pressure of your playful yard decor. You plant flowers they didn't approve? Forget it. You've unleashed chaos. The committee sends a 3-page letter outlining the approved floral palette for the community. Apparently nature needs a permit in these neighborhoods. You plant tulips instead of roses and suddenly you're an outlaw, a botanical renegade. You've created an unsanctioned color on the block and now there's panic. Is that purple? Did he plant purple? Yes, I did, Carol. It's called variety. Try it sometime. And let's talk about driveways. The driveways in these neighborhoods are so clean, you could perform surgery on them. But don't you dare leave anything on it. A basketball? Nope. A skateboard? Illegal. A kid's chalk drawing? Crime of the century. A single pebble? Absolute anarchy. You leave a garden shovel leaning against your garage for 30 seconds and someone's already taking a photo for evidence. Evidence! They document your shovel like they're investigating a crime scene. At precisely 4:17 p.m., the suspect left a gardening tool exposed to public view. Yes, because I was using it. That's how tools work. They come out of storage when you need them. I'm not trying to spark a revolution with a rake. And everything is about property values. That's the sacred phrase. Property values. Oh, the great suburban deity. You can't breathe too loudly without risking property values. It's the ultimate excuse for everything. You can't park there. It hurts property values. You can't grow that plant. It destroys property values. You can't dry your laundry outside. It violates property values. Apparently, the sight of a clean bed sheet fluttering in the breeze is too much for the delicate sensibilities of the neighborhood economy. Somewhere, a banker might faint. Property values must be protected at all costs, even if it means no one is allowed to live like a real human being. And the houses themselves, oh, every house looks the same color scheme, same shape, same windows, same roof. You walk through the neighborhood and feel like you're trapped inside a repeating animation. You pass a house and think, didn't I just see this? You pass another and think, wait, didn't I already walk by here? No, it's just the same design replicated 100 times. It's like living inside a very polite maze. And don't think you can paint your house a slightly different shade of beige. Beige is sacred. Beige is law. Beige is the foundation upon which this entire community rests. You paint your door a cheerful color like bright blue or sunny yellow, and suddenly the neighbors act like you've summoned chaos from another dimension. How dare you bring joy to this environment? Joy is not approved. And that's the thing. You start to wonder, who are these people? Who wakes up one morning and says, you know what this neighborhood needs? More rules. Who sees a happy family with a swing set and says that's unacceptable? Who looks at a flower bed and says, though? SC colors do not align with our collective identity. You know the type, they're the people who love being hall monitors in school, people who enjoy clipboards a little too much, people who crave order, structure, and the ability to tell you that your doormat is 1 inch too wide. They live for this. It gives them purpose. They're the guardians of the neighborhood aesthetic, the defenders of decorative uniformity, the sentinels of suitable shrubbery, and they take the job very seriously. You thought you were buying a home. No, you were joining a lifestyle performance, a theatrical production, a suburban opera where everyone plays the same role, the responsible, tasteful, reasonable resident. And the script has rules. No improvisation, no creativity, no personal expression, just a constant quiet pressure to conform, because in these places, perfection isn't something you chase. It's something that chases you. And the greatest irony, the nicer the neighborhood gets, the less relaxed anyone seems. seems. You'd think people living in a beautiful, peaceful environment would be calm, happy, zen-like creatures strolling around sipping lemonade. But no, they're wound so tight they squeak when they walk. They're constantly watching, inspecting, analyzing, monitoring, evaluating. Because when everything is perfect, anything imperfect becomes a crisis. A misplaced leaf becomes a scandal. A slightly faded welcome mat becomes an emergency. A non-regulation garden gnome becomes a threat to the social order. And that's why the nicer neighborhoods are never actually quiet. Oh, they sound quiet on the surface. But beneath that silence is a constant hum of complaints, paperwork, meetings, whispers, gossip, and the distant rustling of a neighbor hiding behind a curtain with binoculars. The nicer the neighborhood, the louder the judgment, the louder the rules, the louder the committees, the louder the silent disapproval. It's a quiet place filled with very loud expectations. You ever notice how these neighborhood associations behave like they're running a tiny empire? Not a big empire, no, nothing impressive. Just a miniature one, like something you'd find in the toy aisle. But the way they act, you'd think they're controlling the free world. They've got rules, committees, subcommittees, emergency subcommittees, and for all I know, a secret underground headquarters where they store dramatic files on homeowners who left their recycling bin out for 2 extra minutes. They never miss a thing. If an ant crosses your driveway without a permit, they'll have a meeting about it. You ever meet someone who introduces themselves not with their name, but with their title inside the neighborhood? Hello, I'm the vice chair of the Aesthetic Continuity Enforcement Division. Oh, well, excuse me, Captain Symmetry. Didn't realize we were dealing with suburban royalty. These people walk around with a sense of authority you normally see in someone guarding priceless artifacts. Except they're guarding decorative mulch. And the way they patrol the neighborhood, like suburban security guards with invisible badges. They pace up and down the street at 6 a.m., eyes squinting, hands on hips, scanning for rogue flower pots. They've got that look, the look of someone who's just waiting to catch you leaving your trash bins 1 inch too far from the curb. They don't want peace. They want power. And let me tell you, nothing gives someone more power than the ability to send official letters about lawn clippings. There's something funny about people who love rules a little too much. Not the kind of rules that keep society functioning. No, that's too reasonable. These people commit their lives to rules about things nobody should care about. Rules about shutters, rules about fence heights, or rules about acceptable shades of beige, rules about how early you can plug in your holiday lights. Rules so specific they sound like they're written by someone who's never experienced joy. Holiday lights may be displayed beginning December 3rd at precisely 7:16 p.m. Who picks that time? Someone who has never eaten a cookie without taking notes. And the letters. HOAs don't communicate like normal humans. They don't knock on your door. They don't wave from across the lawn. No, they send letters, formal, typed letters in envelopes more dramatic than the situation deserves. You open it expecting a tax bill or a court summons. But no, it's about your trash can being slightly visible from the sidewalk. They send warnings like they're issuing military orders. Dear resident, this is your second notice regarding the unauthorized presence of a basketball hoop on your driveway. Unauthorized presence, it's a hoop, not a spy. And they always phrase things like, it's a tragedy. We regret to inform you that your string lights are too whimsical. Whimsical? That's a compliment. But no, in HOA language, whimsical is a misdemeanor, too whimsical for the neighborhood's emotional stability. They act like joy is contagious and must be stopped. Then they escalate. They always escalate. It starts with a friendly reminder, then a formal notice, then a final warning. After that, they send something called a violation report. Violation report. That's a phrase for something serious, something that involves danger, moral decay, or public chaos. But what's the violation? Your geraniums are too excited. Your mailbox is too creative. Your fence looks like it believes in itself. These are not violations. These are personality traits. And they love the phrase community standards. That's their favorite phrase, their anthem, their mission statement. This does not align with community standards. Community standards are just a fancy way of saying what Deborah and her committee think is appropriate. Because let's be honest, community standards are really just whatever the most controlling person on the block prefers. You think everyone agreed on the rules? Please. Nobody agreed. They were created by 3 people who showed up to the meeting because everyone else had something fun to do. And these meetings, the meetings, you ever been to one of these? As a performance. They treat it like the Supreme Court. The president of the HOA sits up front with a clipboard, adjusting their glasses like they're about to rule on historic legislation. Someone takes minutes. Minutes! Imagine taking minutes on a discussion about the shade of a garden shed. At 7:02 p.m., the committee voted to reject turquoise. Democracy at its finest. And the people who attend, a very special breed. You've got the overly enthusiastic enforcer, the one who actually enjoys telling people what they can't do. You've got the nervous worrywart who thinks every out-of-place dandelion will drop the property values straight into the underworld. You've got the diplomat who tries to be reasonable but secretly takes notes on everyone's behavior. And then you get that one person who just wants to talk about something unrelated, like their cat or the price of tomatoes, and no one knows how to stop them. But my favorite part? Every HOA has one person who takes their job too seriously. Not just seriously, too seriously. They wear a polo shirt tucked in too tight, walk with determination, and speak like they're reading from a constitution written in the 1700s. They refer to themselves in third person. The association appreciates compliance. Who is the association? It's you, Linda. It's just you. And these folks love to catch you doing something non-compliant. They live for that moment. You're pulling into your driveway after a long day, and there they are, standing there, arms crossed, smiling like they've been waiting to deliver a sermon. Good evening. I noticed your hedge is slightly above the allowable height. Slightly. We'll need you to address that. Oh, here we go. They break out the clipboard, start taking notes like you're a case study. Resident appears resistant. Resistant. All you did was sigh. These people take sighs personally. They keep files, real files, a folder with your name on it containing photos of your yard, timestamps, complaint reports, maybe even sketches if they're artistic. They'll show up at a meeting with a projector, clicking through slides of your recycling bin like it's a nature documentary. Here we see the subject in their natural habitat, leaving their bin too close to the driveway. Applause. Applause from an audience of 3 tired neighbors who regret ever buying a house. Then there's the fines. Oh yes, fines. They love their fines. They hand them out like candy. You didn't edge your grass? Fine. You put up a temporary tent for your kid's birthday? Fine. Your dog barked for 6 seconds too long? Fine. You breathed too enthusiastically near the hydrangeas? Probably a fine for that too. And they don't fine you like normal humans. No, they send a letter with phrases like monetary penalty. A monetary penalty. For what? For having a personality. Because in the world of HOAs, personality is a liability. And everything always circles back to property values. You can't talk to an HOA person for more than 10 seconds without hearing the sacred words. This is to protect property values. We must preserve property values. Property values are the backbone of our community. They talk about property values like it's the beating heart of civilization. Like if your garden hose is visible, society will collapse into dust. They treat property values like a fragile baby bird that must be protected from any sign of individuality. And the funniest thing, half the things they complain about don't affect anything. A bike lean against a garage does not destroy the fabric of society. A slightly faded welcome mat does not send home values into chaos. A decorative flamingo in the yard does not trigger an economic recession. But to them, everything is a concern. Everything is a matter of urgent community interest. They act like they're running a national park. For the safety and preservation of the environment, residents must not hang towels over balcony railings. Towels! They talk about towels like they're an invasive species. And there's always one person who keeps track of everyone's behavior. A neighborhood detective. They know who left their trash cans out, who trimmed their bushes, who bought a new wind chime. They narrate everything. Oh, did you see? Number 12 planted daffodils. Daffodils. They say daffodils like it's profanity. Then they whisper about you at meetings. Not loudly enough to call it gossip, but loud enough for you to know you're the main event. And the newsletters! Oh, the newsletters. Pages and pages of nothing. Updates about sprinkler maintenance. A reminder not to feed the ducks. A message from the treasurer. thanking everyone for their participation in the annual mulch audit. The annual mulch audit. What is that? Counting wood chips? Sometimes there's a recipe section. Karen's creamy casserole. Why does Karen get a section? Because Karen helped enforce the mailbox regulation last year. Karen earned her spot through dedication to uniformity. And every page ends with the same message. We thank all residents for maintaining the beauty and harmony of our community. Beauty and harmony? Have you met your committee? These people would argue with a cloud. But best part? HOAs always think they're preventing chaos. They think without them, the neighborhood would instantly turn into a jungle. Houses painted hot pink, cars parked sideways, goats roaming the streets, inflatable dinosaurs on every lawn. They think people, without guidance, would instantly lose their minds. So they dedicate their lives to making sure no one steps out of line. And that's the punchline. They think they're saving the world, but really they're just writing warnings about flower placement. You ever notice how human beings will do almost anything if it makes them feel important? Doesn't matter what it is, give somebody a title, a clipboard, and a tiny amount of authority, and suddenly they're strutting around like they're guarding a treasure chest filled with ancient secrets. Humans love importance. They feed on it, they get up early for it, they iron their shirts for it, and in neighborhoods with lots of rules, this need to feel important becomes a full-time sport. Some people collect stamps. These folks collect control. You can see it the moment they step outside. They walk differently. You know the walk. The I have access to the community handbook walk. Shoulders back, chin high, eyes scanning the horizon for anything that might require their sacred intervention. A slightly crooked doormat. They spring into action. A kid's bicycle leaning against a tree. Impossible. That's chaos. The universe must be restored to balance. And the best part, they don't even hesitate. They march right over with the purpose of someone delivering life-saving medicine. Just letting you know this is not an approved bicycle placement zone. Oh, thank you, good citizen. I don't know what we would have done without this vital information. Society was hanging by a thread because humans, deep down, don't want freedom as much as they want a sense of control. Freedom sounds Greer. Until you realize freedom means letting other people do whatever they want to. No one wants that. People want control. They want order. They want their surroundings to perfectly match the mental image they carry around in their heads. And when they can't control their job or their family or their destiny, they look for something they can control, something manageable, something petty, something small. And what's smaller than regulating the angle of someone's mailbox? You ever watch someone who just discovered a new rule they get to enforce? Their eyes light up like a kid on their birthday. Oh, there's a section in the handbook about decorative stones. I didn't know that. Oh, this is wonderful. They get so excited they practically giggle. They rush off to write it down. They highlight it. They make copies. They carry it around the neighborhood like it's scripture. According to Section 4, subsection B, paragraph 2, granite pebbles must be uniform in color. Uniform in color. We're regulating rocks now. Rocks. The planet's original furniture. But no, humans see a rule and suddenly it becomes an instrument of self-worth. And isn't it fascinating how people suddenly become experts at things once they think they're in charge of them? Someone who couldn't tell the difference between a hedge and a bush last week now speaks like a botanical professor. They'll lecture you about invasive trimming patterns like they've written books about it. Someone who's never painted a house in their life will insist they know the correct shade of exterior eggshell. Someone who failed basic geometry will confidently explain proper driveway alignment like it's an ancient science handed down by wise elders. It's not expertise, it's ego. And the real joke is they don't actually care about the lawns or the mailboxes or the shutters or the decorative pebbles. They care about being the nay, who knows? The one who decides, the one who corrects. That's the real thrill for them, the moment they get to tell another adult what's acceptable. Some people collect coins. These folks collect moments of superiority. And there's always this look they get when they catch you doing something out of compliance. Oh, it's a magnificent expression. A mix of triumph, concern, and gentle disappointment, as if you personally let them down. They walk over with fake sympathy. Oh, I'm sure you didn't know, but that bird feeder is actually supposed to face the southeast. Yes, thank you, Grand Keeper of the bird feed correctness. I'll rotate it immediately so the sparrows don't get emotionally confused. And the funny part is, people don't even argue with them. They don't challenge them. They just nod politely, say, oh, okay, and then go inside and scream into a pillow. Because arguing won't help. These people train for this. They rehearse their speeches. They practice in the mirror. They've got scripts, backup scripts, and backup scripts. You can't win. They'll quote the handbook, the guidelines, the meeting notes, the bylaws, the amendments, the sub-amendments, and if they run out of text, they'll invent new rules on the spot. They won't break character. These people are the Shakespearean actors of neighborhood control. It all comes back to the human instinct for hierarchy. Humans love structure. They love knowing who's in charge of what, even if it's meaningless. Every group of humans, no matter how small, instantly forms a chain of command. You put 3 people in a room, and by the end of the day, one of them is giving instructions, one is nodding along, and one is rolling their eyes. That's just how humans are wired. You see it in neighborhoods, too. Someone becomes the self-proclaimed zone captain, someone becomes the assistant captain, and someone becomes the resident rule breaker. And the rule breaker didn't even volunteer. They were chosen by fate the moment they left a rake outside overnight. And people love titles. Oh, they adore them. Doesn't matter how silly the title is. If it makes them feel important, they wear it proudly. I'm the chair of decorative compliance. Decorative compliance. A title that sounds like someone who arrests confetti. They print it on cards. They put it in their email signature. They mention it at barbecues. Well, as chair of decorative compliance, nobody needed to know that. But they tell you anyway because humans love to sound like they're involved in something meaningful. And have you noticed how some folks wield their authority even when they're off duty? They talk like they're always in a meeting. We've noticed an increase in non-standard doormats in the area. We, who is we? You're standing alone in your driveway. But humans love using we when they want backup. Actual backup or imaginary backup, doesn't matter. We makes them sound official. It gives weight to their statement. It makes their opinion feel like a decision etched in stone. We've determined that this shade of blue is too enthusiastic. Yes, because heaven forbid a color expresses emotion. The deeper truth is humans need to feel like they matter in a way they can measure. They can't measure being a good person. It's too vague. They can't measure being a kind neighbor. It's too invisible. But they can measure whether your hedges are 4 inches too tall. That's tangible. That's real. That's measurable importance. So they latch on to it. They guard it. They devote themselves to it. And in their minds, they're serving the grand purpose of maintaining civilization, even though all they're doing is reminding you that your garden gnome is slightly too close to the walkway. And the really funny part, the people who enforce the most rules are usually the people who feel least in control of their own lives. It's almost adorable in a tragic kind of way. Their job frustrates them. Their days are predictable. Their routine is the same. But by evening, they can walk around with the power to say, this trash can is too visible. And suddenly everything makes sense again. Suddenly they feel like they have purpose. They feel like they're contributing to the world, one unnecessary restriction at a time. It's human nature. Give people a little power, and they cling to it like it's the last slice of cake at a party. They'll protect it. They'll justify it. They'll use it at every outport. Unity. And sometimes they forget what life is actually about. Laughing, relaxing, enjoying your surroundings, planting a weird flower just because you like it, painting your door a color that makes you smile, waving at your neighbor without inspecting their roof shingles. But that's too simple for some people. They don't want life simple. They want it structured. They want it organized. They want to live in a world where everything is labeled, regulated, filed, and categorized. And if they can be the person who enforces it, even better. It gives them something to do, something to believe in, something to feel superior about. And once they've had a taste of that feeling, there's no going back. They become defenders of imaginary order. The funniest part, deep down, they know none of it really matters. They know no civilization collapses because someone hung wind chimes. They know property values aren't going to plummet because someone put a flamingo statue in their yard. They know nobody's life is ruined because a seat cushion is a shade too bright. But that doesn't stop them. Because it's not about the rule, it's about the identity of the person who enforces the rule. And humans cling to identity harder than they cling to anything else.